What the hell, man? Today is International Women's Day, and I just wanted to be peace and quiet for this day, but on Saturday at 8 p.m., this was March 6th, this was during the closing laps of the Las Vegas race in the Xfinity Series. Or maybe I could be wrong. Maybe she tweeted this after the Xfinity race at Las Vegas was wrapped up. But Natalie Decker, she just dropped this bombshell of a tweet. It said, "Hey NASCAR on Fox. My team and I worked our butts off last year to make history as the highest finishing female in the Truck Series. Last night and tonight during the race, you acknowledge most of the female drivers for Women's History Month but me. Thank you for your support. Sad face emoji." And to that I say, well, I mean, she's actually right, but the way she came out saying that, she just came out as arrogant and entitled. But on the bottom of it, she's right, because NASCAR during the Truck and Xfinity Series broadcast NASCAR for Women's History Month, because today, March 8th, is International Women's Day. The month of March as a whole is International Women's Month, so of course NASCAR is going to be spending some of their broadcast appreciating some of the female drivers that have come over NASCAR. Most notably, women like Janet Guthrie, Shauna Robinson come to mind, the most notable examples of women in NASCAR, or female drivers in NASCAR. Of course, one notable name they missed was Danica Patrick. Like Natalie Decker, they didn't mention Danica Patrick at all during that broadcast they did of acknowledging all female drivers in NASCAR. They didn't mention Danica Patrick either, and you don't see Danica Patrick complain at all on social media. So the fact that Natalie Decker, a driver who has pretty much been, I don't want to say that she's been carried by sponsorship, but outside of that 5th place finish in the Truck Series, and we'll get to that, but outside of that 5th place finish in the Truck Series, which made her the highest finishing female driver in series history, outside of that, what has she done? Just a couple of top 20s, but a lot of crashes. In 2019 alone, she had more incidents than all of her teammates combined. Just literally. And she just wants to be acknowledged as a female driver. Just because she's a female, she's just coming out as entitled to me. She's just coming out as entitled. Like, the fact that she is a woman, the fact that she's a girl in NASCAR, she thinks that alone makes her special. Like Danica Patrick, she won the pole and got a few top 10s in the Cup Series and in the Xfinity Series, and she won the pole, and not just for any race. She won the pole for the Daytona 500 in her first ever start. The fact that the NASCAR didn't mention Danica Patrick in their broadcast, either during the Trucks or the Xfinity Series, the fact that they didn't mention her, and you don't see Danica Patrick complain on Twitter, but the fact that they didn't mention Danica Patrick shows just, I don't think they should mention Natalie Decker either. I don't think she should be offended by that, especially since most of those drivers, or all of those drivers that were mentioned, have been females that have won races in NASCAR, and not just in the top 3 national series, because I don't think any female driver has won a national race, a NASCAR race in all 3 national series. But in the lower series, like ARCA, the K&N series, there have been female drivers that have succeeded there and won, most notably, of course, being Hailie Deegan. Um, the fact that Natalie Decker hasn't won a race in any of those series, and she's just looking for acknowledgement simply because she's a girl. Like, then again, she's not deserving of that, in my opinion. Like, just because you are a girl in NASCAR, that doesn't mean you should get any special treatment from that. That doesn't mean you should get any special treatment. Just freaking go out there and do something on the track, woman. Like, yeah, it's pretty suckish that NASCAR on Fox didn't shout you out because, again, you're running in the Xfinity Series part-time right now, but that's not good enough. And on the topic of that highest finishing female driver in the Truck Series, we need to add some real context to that 5th place finish. Because if you watch that 2020 Daytona race in the Truck Series, that race was chaotic. Was absolutely chaotic. The fact that Natalie Decker, she was one of the slowest cars on the track. She was one of the slowest lead lap cars the whole entire thing. She was running around the back up until, I believe, the final restart, where she just stayed in the draft and she rode the inside lane, and she ended up finishing 5th as most of the field up front shuffled. She ran a smart race, yeah, but the fact that it was at Daytona where she got that 5th place finish, at a track where most of these smaller teams can actually get a good finish or even flat out win the race, and the fact that the race itself was chaotic as hell, all of a sudden that 5th place finish, to me, it doesn't really seem that impressive, because anybody would have done the same thing in Natalie Decker's situation. I believe that 90% of those drivers would have accomplished what Natalie Decker did in those circumstances. Like, it is really easy at a restrictor plate track like Daytona or Talladega to just lock into a top 5 finish by just staying out of trouble and staying behind the pack. Now, of course, a 5th place finish is a 5th place finish. No doubt about it. I'm not saying that I'm not taking any credit away from what Natalie Decker did. She got a top 5, and she came and she brought the car back clean, which is something that she struggled to do a lot in 2019. But she's acting like that alone should be proof of that she should be recognized. She's acting like, hey, I was the highest finishing female in the Truck Series, give me some recognition. No, that is the only thing you've literally done in your entire NASCAR career, and you're acting like they should give you some recognition. You're treating it like you won the championship. No, that's not how it works, girl. That's not how it works. There's a simple solution to this problem. Just go out there and win some races and keep your ass out of trouble. That's all I'm gonna say. Now, of course, I'm gonna get this out of the way because I don't want people to get the wrong idea about what I've said so far. But I'm all in for women in NASCAR. I am all in for diversity drivers. What I think about what it takes to get a job is just the same applies here in NASCAR. If you're good at what you do, you have a place in the sport. It's like a job. It's like getting a job. If you're good at your job and you prove that you have what it takes, then congratulations, you got the job. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter whatever else you may have. If you prove that you're capable, then you got it. You got an opportunity. Now, of course, in NASCAR, it's much different because there are a lot more barriers than just any other sport. It's not just about talent, it's also about the money side of things. There's no doubt that Natalie Decker has talent, but when you look at her on the track, it is pretty evident that she looks very, very scared, and she gets into her own head a lot. And that's why she doesn't perform well. She ends up making a lot of mistakes. Her first Truck Series race, she ended up crashing. She ended up crashing out and finishing last place. Her first Xfinity race, which was actually a few weeks ago at the Daytona Road Course, she didn't even make it 2 laps, and she crashes out. She gets involved in a spin, and then the spin this causes an oil leak in her car, and she DNFs. That's it. And it's stuff like this that make people question whether you can actually beat Natalie Decker in a straight up race. And now, of course, I don't think about that. I don't think that. I mean, anybody who has made it into the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, anyone who has made it that far can beat any normal person in a straight up short track race. It's not that, of course, that's easy for people to say because Natalie Decker is just making a fool of herself on national TV. But when you go up, but that's because relative to the competition that is around her. If you put Natalie Decker next to some people who don't know anything about NASCAR in a short track race, Natalie Decker, she's gonna beat them. There's no doubt about that. But the fact that Natalie Decker, she has been carried by her sponsorship all this time. She has mostly been carried by her sponsorship more than her actual driving skill, more than her actual accomplishments on the track, because outside of that 5th place finish at Daytona, which is not that impressive, mind you, she has 0 accomplishments. Sometimes we feel like we have to question whether she is in NASCAR because she's a girl, and whether she's promoting herself the right way. Because when I see a Natalie Decker on social media, and especially that tweet she made, it looks like Natalie Decker prides herself a little too much in being a girl. And the fact that she uses that like, hey, I'm a girl in NASCAR. There aren't that many girls in NASCAR. Follow me. Of course, that's not what I think that Natalie Decker says, but that's just the impression I get from her, and I just don't like it. Like using your gender to promote yourself and get people to follow you. That's the equivalent of clout chasing, and it's not the good kind of clout chasing. It's just the bad type. And of course, he also gives people off a bad impression about women in NASCAR, especially since Natalie Decker entered the scene like 1 or 2 years removed from Danica Mania. Like Danica Patrick was still fresh in our minds when Natalie Decker came around. She didn't do much in ARCA, despite having some of the best equipment there, and little to no competition. Like there were only 7 full-time drivers in ARCA that season, and she finished last among those full-time drivers. And she didn't even finish top 10 in half of her ARCA races, despite having the best equipment on the track in Venturini Motorsports. And then the next year she gets into the Truck Series. She gets a ride in the Truck Series. Like, of course, that's gotta be money motivated. If it was me, I would have preferred that Natalie stayed 1 more year in ARCA. But of course, because she's money and because she's most likely marketing himself as, I'm a female, I'm a girl that's trying to get into NASCAR, of course it's gonna get sponsors to come around her. That's why N29, despite all the hardships, N29 is still behind her. And look where this has carried her. This has carried her all the way to the Xfinity Series. So I'm not saying that Natalie Decker is undeserving of the opportunity she has, because again, when it comes to NASCAR, it is very hard. It is very hard to get opportunities. So you gotta get them any way you can. Like, I do not blame Natalie Decker for using her money to get opportunity, but I am going to blame Natalie Decker for just marketing herself as a girl in NASCAR, because that's just not the way you go about it. That's not the way you go about it. Like, you are a girl in NASCAR, like, that's okay, but that doesn't mean you are more important than let's say the defending series champion Chase Elliott. That doesn't make you any more special. What really defines you is what you do on the track. And let's just say that it's not looking very good. It's not looking very good out there for you on the track. Your on-track results don't look very promising. So if you want to get some recognition from not only NASCAR on Fox but also from the fan base as a whole, I suggest that you stop getting into your head and start getting some results, because NASCAR is not for the faint of heart.